All right, Dan. Call the meeting to order at this time with new microphones and system all working. Is that right?
Old.
We hope.
Working, yes.
All right. Good. Camera, everything. All right. Good to know. Welcome, everybody.
Welcome.
See, we've got Rebecca. John, you're going to open us in prayer tonight?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Jim. I think I'm a little bit too loud here. Testing. Is that a little better? Yep. Okay, thank you. We bow our heads, please. Our dear Heavenly Father, we just thank you so much for the beautiful day that we've had and this opportunity to serve here at Georgetown Township. And we pray for your blessing. We pray for your wisdom, Lord. Please be with us that we're able to do what is best in your eyes. We pray for our national government, our state government. Please help them, Lord. We're going through the very difficult times, and we can use your wisdom. Thank you for the wonderful people that work here. It's exciting to pull up here and see the library full of people having a good time. It's been a joy here in Georgetown Township to be a part of making a few of these things happen. Thank you for our emergency people and how they risk their lives for us, and the good people that serve us daily. In your Son's name we pray. Amen.
Okay. Amen. Thank you. You'd all stand. Pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. Okay. As I mentioned earlier, everyone's here but Becky. Mm-hmm. We have a quorum. Item 5, approval of the agenda. You've all received tonight's agenda. Does anyone have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved. Support.
Moved and supported. Discussion? Comments? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And motion is carried. Item 6, you've received a few communication letters and reports for information. Item 7, public comment. This relates to what happens to be our only agenda item this evening. So if you wish to step forward tonight and speak at all to the item we'll be discussing on the agenda, those of you who've seen it already, you're welcome to do so at this time. Otherwise, there will be another opportunity for you to speak toward the end of the meeting. So is there anyone here to speak on specifically our issue of the evening? All right. Other than, obviously, we've got Mr. Hannenberg here, but not here from the public. All right. Seeing none, we'll close the initial public comment period. Item 8 is the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda?
So moved.
Support.
Any comments about that? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Motion is carried. Item 9, now this is unfinished business, is what I was alluding to a moment ago, but the census radio read infrastructure. We've begun this discussion. Certainly it's been at least one previous meeting to it, possibly. I know that last year we began the process of testing out some units, and so this has been something on our minds for at least a year. And we kind of tabled it the last time as we had a number of questions that we wanted answers to, and I think each of you as board members received additional information through our manager, as well as through Joel, as I mentioned before. And then I also saw some questions, Michael, that you'd posed and that we were provided the answers to in writing. So with that, let's reopen this matter, and if anyone wish to either place a motion before the board or otherwise begin discussion on the matter.
Well, I move we take it off the table.
Very good.
Support.
Moved and supported. Anyone oppose that? All right. So all in favor of the motion to take it off the table, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right. So the matter is now before you again here this evening, and I know that a number of you wish to speak to that. So in no particular order, I know we have, again, Joel is here this evening.
And we have Kevin and Eric from Aetna as well.
Okay. All right.
Eric Carlin, he's one of our technical support reps with Census. He works for us. He's our lead
Okay. All right. Well, welcome. All right. Among the board, I had a chance to review, as you did, the information we were provided. And as I say, I know a number of you want to ask certain questions. So, be my guest.
I guess I'll start. I tried to call Gary yesterday. Sorry for a Sunday call. But I was trying to, and I tried calling Catherine because she was on utilities back then. And I believe John, was John on utilities a year ago?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And what I was trying to find out is, and I believe I was actually at that meeting in the crowd, but I don't remember the total, I guess maybe there's communication sent to utility committee members that I didn't know about. Was there ever an explanation that, because when it came across to the board just a few weeks later, it was we're purchasing 1,500 new endpoints. Like, oh, well, we got trouble ones, I guess we're buying more. Did they ever tell the utilities committee members that if we go with these new brands, it's not just endpoints we throw on our current system, we have to discard our entire old AMI system and reinvest in a different brand, complete new AMI system. So, and give you a rough cost. Or was it just we're going to get 1,500 meters?
By they, who do you mean?
Whoever presented it, Dan, Rod, I'm not sure who provided that information. It looks like early July there was a meeting saying, get ready for the next one. We're going to talk about meter endpoints. But I'm wondering if at any point it was, hey, just want to let you know, if we switch brands, we're talking $5-6 million all in, and everything we have will be phased out and thrown away.
So you say you reached out to Gary and you're asking John now, right? So Gary
didn't answer his phone. So Gary didn't answer his phone. So
right. I don't see it on my phone, so I don't know if you tried to call me or not. But anyways, I don't remember that conversation. The conversation was we need to try something. We need to do something with a different system. So we were asking one to try the system. We tried the system. I don't think at that time the discussion, I don't remember how it all went. I have to look back at the minutes, but I remember at that time. I remember the discussion was the seriousness of how bad the system we have now is going degrading. I don't think that was a conversation. I think the system is degraded quite quickly, from my understanding. So that was the reason. If I remember right, that was the reason we went into that trying the system out. So, I mean, what it boils down to is we don't have much choice. We need to upgrade our system.
That's what I thought too, and that's what we were led to believe in this whole thing, that KP was bought out by Mueller. Mueller's now in Israel. They don't answer their phones. Well, actually, there is a Mueller USA who bought the KP line and sells the KP line. Hundreds of municipalities are installing the current Mueller systems. We can get a replacement head-end server. We can get replacement collectors. We can get, and we have been able to get, replacement MTUs for $130 each. But we haven't, and I don't know how long that's been. If it's been at least a year, 2 years when they started failing, we just didn't replace them, thinking, oh, well, no sense buying that. If we're going to trade to a different system, but the current system we have, we can use.
No, we can't.
Yeah, we can. I talked to the Mueller rep today.
I don't care who you talk to, Mike. No, we can't. And that's been made clear to you. Is we can't get reads on the current system. Mueller is not supporting that system. Joel, any other thoughts with the KP system? I mean, it's...
Yeah, we're just not getting the technical support we need, and we're constantly having problems weekly in getting reads.
I talked to the rep this morning. We can get anything. There's full service. He's like, I said, well, we're having to reset our head-end server twice a week and collectors twice a week. So that's weird. Those AMI systems are inherently a little troublesome because you're establishing gateways between the head-end server and the control or the collectors.
So, Mike, who did you talk to?
James.
James.
Swantech.
James who?
Swantech.
Okay.
I think he knows Joel. Did he reach out to you? Okay. He's like, we got service. Yeah, what do you guys need? I'm like, do you have a support staff that can come out and figure out what the problem is? Could you look? He said, No problem. We got people that can do that. He said 99% of the time, this can be addressed on the phone. So I don't know if the issue is the collectors, the head end unit, or what, but it's solvable. It's fixable. Mueller's a huge company. Nothing against Badger, nothing against Neptune, nothing against Itron, nothing against Census. They're all top brands for AMI systems, AMR systems. They have cellular endpoints. These are big companies. They don't just stop answering the phone. The question is, is it just not the right phone number?
So is the endpoints that Mueller's now selling different than what we have now?
They're MTU. No, it's the same MTU. We're constantly having issues, even though we got a new server. Even that was troublesome of the net operating with through Mueller. It took them about 6 months to do so. And in the meantime, we're struggling to get reads. The support isn't there to support that product. You can't go out for 6 months trying to get reads and have issues that they never address.
How long ago did we get the server? The new head end server?
I'm sorry. Yeah.
So it's only a year old, and I'm assuming it comes with at least a 1-year warranty. And these problems didn't start yesterday, but we didn't call for warranty work?
We call them all the time. There's no response.
Well, here's the interesting thing. Talking to the sales rep, because one of my concerns was if we go to a different system, now we're left with 15,000 lithium-ion batteries that you just can't toss in the trash. The typical rate going, I'm not going to probably tell you, is $250 to $350 per unit. We have to pay them to take it. So it's like, boy, and a lot of these, it's not, all these weren't installed in 2011. They're not all 10 years old. I asked for an asset management system. Give me a breakdown. What are the age of these meters? I know the one in my house, 4 years old. That's still got, I believe KP has what, 15-year warranty on their MTUs?
10 years and it's prorated.
10 and 10? So, I got a perfectly good, and those are under warranty, so we got to send those in. And the interesting part with Mueller too, they said if you want to go to a different system, because the new technology seems to be a lot of municipalities are moving from it. In fact, Monroe, Michigan, West Bloomfield, Flint, that's not a great word to throw out in the middle of talking about water. They've all moved from, I know Monroe moved from census meters to Badger. So there's different systems out there. There's options, different programs. Those are cellular. So cellular endpoints using the Internet of Things or LoRaWAN. I think we need to fully examine what possibilities are. If with our current system, if we do want to switch to a more, say, Internet of Things endpoints, which is more reliable, you're not relying on a collector or a head-end server. The data is directly sent to our cloud software, which is what BSNA fully integrates with BSNA software. We eliminated the troublesome network. And even that, I looked at the original proposal is, if we get this, well, we can share a collector with Wyoming if ours goes down. We haven't even bought it yet, and we're already planning on it going down?
No, we aren't planning anything going down. And don't focus on the minor things, Mike. And if you,
I'm not going to get in an argument with you, Rob. You're not on the board.
Why wouldn't you call me? Why wouldn't you call me and share this? We
had a meeting Friday or Thursday. What day was it we had a meeting?
Right.
I told you my concern. I gave you a question.
We are in trouble if we don't switch to the system.
Well, that's another thing you said. If we don't do this, we will not be able to read meters in 2 years.
No.
Do you want me to quote you?
Yeah, quote me. Quote me.
Let's see. Please note that 267,460 plus 21 million of the 4,804,960,000 total is a result of moving to the census system. Again, if we don't move to the census system, we will soon, in a few years, not be able to obtain meter reads.
Yes. Where'd you get two?
What is a few?
What's two? Is two a few?
Two is a few. I don't know.
Are you trying to grandstand again?
Two's a couple. Two's a couple. Three's
three. Two.
It says a few.
Mm-hmm.
So even if, we'll just say it's three. How does a 3 to 5 year plan take care of that? If we can't read them in 3 to 5 years, in 3 years, if say it's 3 years, we can't read it. So in 3 years, we are going to start implementing the plan to do it. So we're going to have a bunch of meters that we can't read. We have to go in the house, and that's just it. The system still works.
Well, we're doing that now. We're getting estimates from folks because we can't get reads or inconsistent reads.
So my question is, are they truck rolls for these reads from the street, or are they physically going in the house for manual read?
They're truck rolls, and we're either asking to go in, if they don't allow us in, Joel, we have to get an estimate. Is that correct?
Yeah. Strictly estimates usually don't pass.
So, and beautiful part with Mueller is they fully support. If we want to keep continuing with this, they have their MTUs. He's got 400 right now. We can replace the ones that aren't missing. We can stay with this system, and we can even, if we want to, move to their new, I believe it's called MyNet, or a newer head-end server and newer collectors. And I said, well, we've got 15,000 MTUs out there. Depending on the age of the MTU, they will give us either a full replacement of the new MTU as a free swap. And depending on the age, it could be a 70% off. So, this is millions of dollars.
Do you have that all in writing?
What's that?
You have that all in writing?
No, I spoke to the rep. I've got.
Well, that's not what I asked. You have it in writing. I speak to reps all day, every day. They can tell you what you want to hear. So they're dealing with municipality and tell you what you want to hear. So I want to know, is that what if they can say I'm going to do? I deal with salesmen. I know how it works. They tell you what you want to hear.
Oh,
but that's what I'm saying. Do you have it in writing?
I get it in writing.
You came to the meeting and you said this is what we're going to do, and this is all great, but I haven't seen anything. I haven't seen one piece of paper that said this is what they can do, this is what's going to cost, this is what road we're going to go down.
Yep, and I don't have the authority to get us into a contract. See, I'm just the treasurer. What I'm looking for is to send this back to utilities and fully look at it, because is an AMI the way to go? I don't know. As far as who has AMIs, Wyoming does. Fire Center has census meters, I believe. Allendale, I believe, is phasing the census. And what do? They don't do AMI, they do AMR. So they're doing truck rolls on all that. So it's different than what we have. And that's just it. It's not an easy process. I would like to see more, I guess, a deep dive and what are our options. Do we want to go to cell points? Because if we do cellular endpoints, we're not burdened by a collector going down, missing those reads. Each one is using the Internet of Things to upload that data. So if one endpoint goes down, boom, it goes down. We get all the other reads.
To build on both of your points, from my perspective, I think with it being a $5 million spend over the next 5 years, peanut butter spread that out $1 million a year. This feels like a big enough spend to take the time to have Mueller come back and Badger and Aetna, or whoever these three entities are, and come back and present a project or what the 3 to 5 year plan looks like, with a little bit more robust information and almost like, a project packet of some sort. I think last meeting I mentioned, itemize it out in an Excel over the next 3 to 5 years. That'd be helpful, but I think it needs to be a little bit more of a project bid, and we can see what each 3 of these entities bring to the table. And I only say that because it's a $5 million spend, and it's a weighty one. And I don't know, it sounds like we have some time. We have 2, 3, a few, whatever that is, years. So that's my ad.
I think, though, that you have to understand, though, that it's a spend, but it's a spend through utilities. It's being paid for by water fees. It's not necessarily a tax fee because of the fact that if you got a well, you're not paying for this. This is coming out of our water fees. So if you're hooked to the water system, that's part of the expense of keeping up the system or renewing if we have to. So we're clear where money's coming out of. Money's coming out of utilities budget, not necessarily taxes.
Oh yeah, and that's just it. I have to justify to my constituents that have water bills, we just threw away $4 million of our original investment, and we're investing 5 or 6.
We're not throwing anything away.
Well, we're not keeping the old system. We're just doing away.
We're renewing a lot of the system that is wore out too.
But I'd like to go to them and say, you know what, we found a solution, and maybe it's not the solution. I don't know. Maybe Badger is. Maybe Census has, does Census have cellular endpoints, and if maybe that's the route we want to go. Maybe, I don't know. But I want to be, if we can go to them and say, you know what, it was looking like we were going to spend $5 million. Well, actually, it's only going to be about $1 million. I mean, that's great. We're being good stewards with that money. I could just say, you know, it's in the tax bill. It's written off. We already upcharge them and make
Not in the tax bill. You keep saying that. Don't say tax bill. You say it.
That's the water bill.
That's where your mind is. Your mind's in tax bill. It's not. It's in the water bill.
In the water bill. And that's why we make $1 million a year off water and sewer. So I don't want to tell them is like, yeah, we're overcharging you so we can not be good stewards with that money. We can just try your system.
We're not overcharging our customers. You realize how efficient the services are?
No, we have to because we have infrastructure that we need to maintain. So but the point is we're not doing it at cost. We're making money. I would rather the $4 million savings go into ultrasonic testing equipment to start looking at our aging infrastructure and say, do we got some pipes that are getting ready to fail? Be proactive and spend that $4 million on water main replacement for aging pipes. That's what I'm saying is, I'm not saying give the money back to the water customers. I'm saying let's save that money because we have an aging infrastructure and we're going to need it. I mean, $14 million is a pretty
fortunate term because it's not a.
All right, I'm not sure what's the, I guess the more delicate term.
We know what you're trying to convey, but that's a laden term.
I guess I'm wondering, future investments.
With Joel here, and Joel, whether you feel more comfortable seated or at the mic, it's up to you, but a couple of statements that I heard that I would like your input on. One is, hey, we have time to evaluate it, and I kind of want to know from your perspective, what does that timeline in situation look like? And then the other was, I thought I read in the memo you'd written to us as a board that it would cost more not to move forward. So that, you know, it seemed to be a necessity in that way. So I want to give you a chance to address those two
I can
points.
address the cellular issue, and maybe, I don't know, like, offer a cellular endpoint. But I did talk, when we did look into cellular, and they would love to talk cellular, but cellular is on all the time, and so it keeps up the battery. They love it to do that because they'll eat up the batteries and they'll sell us more radios. They will go through them quickly. They don't last again. That's what my research and Dan Carlton's research. That's what we found out. With the cost of it, we are eating up time with issues, and now we're doing a lot more estimating, but we only get to reach some of the time. We're getting to the 10-year life mark where they're starting to fail constantly. I mean, what's it constantly? Well, we're starting to see more and more failures. And so this would be a great time to start to transition into a new product that is more reliable.
So, Joel, in your experience, how has it been with the existing system and support through Mueller, KP, now Mueller?
I'm sorry.
We've been on the KP Mueller system for what, starting 2012, 2011?
2000.
And how has that experience been?
KP makes those infused in Israel, but of course we don't have to watch them. They bought them out. That misheard me or whatever, but yeah, they've always been in the United States, move ahead. But they were good to work with at first, but then when we bought them out, I think it was 2018. But since then, the support hasn't been there, and we keep on having issues. And where we can't get reads, we'll get reads where they're a month old, so now we'll just be spend time trying to make up that month, trying to come up with an estimate. And of course, everybody's using a lot of water right now with irrigation, so we're trying to make people happy. You got residents who are going to be upset because bills high or bills low, and then next quarter we do finally get a reading, you know, they're gonna have to pay the difference, and it's gonna be screaming. You know, upset residents.
So
Joel?
if I could, there was one question that I'd asked. I'm sorry, John, if you could complete. First of all, it seems like that last point you're making is maybe the point Gary was trying to make, which is there's a disconnect to some degree, at least from your practical experience with Mueller, between what perhaps their sales rep might say and what the end service. Yeah. Which frustrates salespeople and also frustrates end users. Sometimes they oversell and they underperform and vice versa. But yeah. But that earlier question I had about the timing of it, I guess, you know, for us as a board, it's been a test period here for about a year, and now it's been this summer that we've been discussing, hey, the transition now. What is the time frame as you see it in terms of the need to make a decision of how to affect change with this system that's giving us issues right now?
Well, I think the time is to decide tonight and give us direction. Because it's a transitional thing, and where, you know, it's going to take a little bit to get to this point, and then we can start getting caught up with doing all the therapy out there, and start all the new homes, even putting touch pads on, just to remove it. Now maybe get 400 like salesman says, I don't know. But we were told 15 to 18 weeks by now. So, you know, again, and he told me that's fixed. I don't know what's true. I don't know.
So he told you 16 weeks?
Joel, are you satisfied with the test period? Do you think it's met your expectations?
Yes. I mean,
do you strongly recommend that we make a move to adopt this new program? Okay. I'm wondering, the gentlemen that are here, you kind of listened to our discussion. Would it be appropriate to have them
I
or
think
not?
not so much as a point of sale, as much as if you heard some technical information being asked among the board that you believe you could inform us about, to say, well, that wasn't quite the full answer. But I don't need because I don't think we want a sales presentation this evening. I think if anything, it would be a technical support matter.
Could he come up to the microphone?
So I guess, really, once you invest in our infrastructure, you have more than just getting reads, right? So to your point of managing your water mains and things like that, so we have bolt-on software packages and other meters with pressure sensors in them, and like a pressure profile software package in, so you can monitor the pressures in your system. You can predict leaks when they're going to happen. We have other softwares, revenue locator softwares, where you can determine like water loss spots of your system, and then what maybe old aging mains that need to be replaced where you have lots of leaks and things like that. So once the infrastructure's up, Census is owned by Xylem, which is a great big brand that, like, everything from flight pumps, YSI instruments, all kinds of stuff. And they're in a big transition of combining all of these small companies that they've acquired over the years to having a big software package to be able to talk to each other. And I mean, I don't have any time frame on that, but that's just kind of what their end goal is. So once our infrastructure's up, we have acoustic leak monitors and things. But I'm just saying that you can get more than just a meter reading. You can actually monitor your entire system as a whole.
Oh, I agree. And they all do that. Badger does that. Neptune does that.
Yeah.
Mueller does that. There's pressure management. They can actually have software that can control the pressure to have equal pressure. So they all do that. And I don't want it to turn into a sales pitch because everybody does that.
Just let you know, like, it's more than just getting a meter read, I guess.
Are we wasting $4 million if we don't go with you?
Are you wasting $4 million if you don't?
Well, we're talking about expenses, switching over.
All your water meters are an asset, right?
That much.
Depreciate over time.
That's what we want you to know.
Yeah, so I don't think you're wasting money no matter what meter you go with, right? Because they're all going to depreciate over time. So
okay.
It just depends if you get your money's worth out of it, I guess.
And that's why I wondered about asset management software as far as what we have for meters, endpoints, MTU, whatever the term is depending on the brand. If we can look at it, say 50% of our meters are older than 10 years old, we've got something to go by. I know the one in my house is 4 years old. I know, were we doing KPs up until 2 years ago? When did we stop replacing those four? So we have 400 failed meters right now. Is that over the last year, 2 years?
No, I couldn't give you the exact, but probably just this year alone.
So just one.
Staying up with repairs and right up till probably February, we start slowing down, and then we do the pick and choosing because it's hard to get product.
Oh yeah, and that's everybody's having the same issue. Badger, Orion, everybody.
February, we've been picking and choosing just to do where we are constantly having issues with these meter chips or whatever, or ratings or what have you. And that's what we've been doing to get by until we get to this point of, okay, this is the direction the board wants you to go, and that's where we're going.
A couple follow-up questions.
Sorry, I just wanted to state, so 400 units not working MCUs at 15,000, that's 0.25%. That's a small number. And we do have a fix, or we could have had a fix that we could have been doing. And I just wanted to clarify the 1.2 about cellular endpoints are always on, they are not always on. You can set that up in the software, whether you want to trigger that to send every hour, 4 times a day, once a day. And the interesting part too, and I haven't looked into this, and this is something to consider. I'm trying to remember census, and I'm not taking that well. Are you sure? Here's so you can answer. Operates on the 800 to 950 kilohertz. Is it megahertz? Kilohertz. Megahertz.
It's a licensed frequency.
Yep. Yep. And everybody kind of works along those same things.
Yeah, so 2 full watts of power and farther.
Yep. And so that was the kind of question people have is, is an RF frequency at 2 watts more dangerous than a cellular? But these are questions people ask.
No, we get that a lot, right?
Right.
Your microwave in your house, your cell phone you carry with you, a baby monitor, a garage roaster, all those have like hundreds of times more frequency output than what ours do because they're on more often. Ours are on for a millisecond every 4 to 6 hours when they report into the house.
Interesting, because that does come up. You'd be surprised how often that comes up with the public.
And this is something we should consider too, because the cellular only puts out, I want to say that a 2-watt RF signal from MTU or endpoint puts out about 6 to 10 times the amount of what a cellular endpoint does. And I thought it would be the other way around, but I'm not an expert in this, I'm learning. And that's the interesting part, and that's something we would talk about, and I don't want it to be a sales pitch, because every brand has their own pluses and minuses, and pretty much everybody has cellular, some don't. It depends on your situation. If you're a more hilly area where RF is, you've got line of sight issues, then cellular is a good, way out. You don't want to put a collector for 10 residents if you're a 100 square mile township or whatever. So, and that's all something, and that's why this is one of those things that I think it needs to be flushed out more to look at. Maybe it's a hybrid combination of some cellular endpoints and some AMI endpoints.
So we did a crop study to make sure we had all coverage, and we can read 99.8% of all radios with 2.
Yep, and I don't know what the others would be at because we never offered them the option. But one thing I keep going back to is trying to learn all this stuff, and I'm kind of a techno nerd. I love learning this stuff. What type of meters are they? A mutating disc? Is it vanes? What is it? Ultrasonic? This is all cool stuff to me because I'm a nerd. But I just think that and more time needs to be put into this because each brand is very territorial, so we can't price check this. So I think this is something where it's one of my goals for Thursday is in cases where we can't do a comparison. We have this a lot with the fire department. Certain areas, if you want this, you have to buy it here, which is nothing wrong, but look at in those cases say, you know what, let's hire an independent marketing firm like I'm trying to think of the name, CDM Smith. Have we ever used CDM Smith? So this is a consulting engineering firm that does a study, and one example was as I was researching the city in Virginia was looking at replacing their, going from an AMR system, which is radios, but you do a drive-by. And that's what Allendale does. They send trucks out, they collect the data. They wanted to switch to the AMI system, so they started looking into what brands are out there. So they hired this company. I don't know what the cost was, but it was literally 182 pages just on which to go with. I don't think we need 182 pages, but they looked at every brand. They looked at Badger. They looked at Neptune. They looked at Census. They looked at Mueller. They looked at some that I've never even heard of. And they kind of compared them. Here's the pros. Here's the cons. And listed out to fully look into it. I think a huge one going, and I'm not a sales rep for Mueller. I know we've had issues with them in the past, and I know that they were bought. KP was bought out by Mueller in Israel. Well, then Mueller USA bought the rights. So Mueller USA is all the KP electronics, collectors, head units, MCUs, all of that. That's all in the U.S., Atlanta, Texas. What I do like is we have a lot of money in MTUs right now. If we go a different brand, whether it be Badger, Neptune, who else, we're going to pay to have those recycled. 15,000 of them. If we go with a place like Mueller, they're willing to give us. Now, I know you said, do you have it in writing? I don't know. I think it's worth it if it could save us a couple million to maybe get some stuff in writing.
You're not going to save a couple million. Because here's the deal, Mike. When it boils down to, you're going to replace every meter in this township eventually.
No, not meter.
Everything wears out.
Yeah, but we're
Everything
talking
wears out.
MCUs right now, not meters.
But over time, you're going to replace them. Because they're going to wear out. They're going to last about so long. We're going to get replaced now.
10 years prorated.
Right.
So if we throw them, like mine, 4 years old, we throw that away, it's gone. We pay $350 for it to be recycled, gone.
You're not going to do them all over 1 year.
But I'm saying Mueller is willing to do a free swap for their new version, and depending on the age, they'll do a percentage discount on a replacement. So instead of paying full price, we could pay anywhere from full price for 10-year-old, 12-year-old units, or maybe get 5% off. But the newer stuff, so overall, when you're talking 15,000 MTUs, that's a lot of money.
But here's the deal. You called there one time, and they told you what you wanted to hear. Joe's called there numerous times, and can't get them to return and do what they say they're going to do. So I told you what you wanted to hear. That's awesome. But when he's dealing with them for over a year and not getting a response, not getting the technical support he needs, I got to go with what Joe's doing because Joe's saying this ain't working.
And we've done a 1-year trial with Census because the board decided over a year ago there was an issue and trial Census, and we've done that for a year.
All right, I'm going to chime in. I'm going to come at it with a different angle, a little different angle. Turn me down. I'm going to come at it from the 15 years of medical sales experience, and so I'm going to create the timeline. You said you got it in 2012. You started having issues 2018. That's what you're saying?
Yeah.
18? Okay.
And we've been doing issues.
So as far as like follow-up with that company, have they provided customer service, anything like that, any type of follow-up?
It was sold, people from KP joined Mueller for about a year, and then they sold a lot, and now we don't get support, they don't come here.
Okay.
Everything is all over online, they never come.
Okay. See, that would be my concern right there. I understand and I love your research that you did, Michael. But if it's been an issue for 4 years, and then all of a sudden they come out of the woodwork and say, hey, no, we have these solutions, it worries me a little bit that they won't do it again. Just because as a salesperson, you want to make sure you have constant touch on your customers, and that worries me a little bit that they would fail badly like that. That being said, I'm not completely sold on this specific one. Like, what made you choose a year ago to trial this one? Like, did you look at multiple ones at that time? Okay.
This is what we thought was the best route for the township to give a trial run, and Dan presented it to the utility committee and to the board.
And you've been happy with it?
And you compare, I mean, obviously my rule that I love is 3 quotes. Mm-hmm. Did you vet them all and make sure that this was the one that you liked about, you didn't just look at one?
No, you did not.
Okay. And then did you give an opportunity at that point a year ago back to Mueller and said, hey, we're having an issue.
No.
Can you fix whatever the issue is?
That Mueller is not supporting this product anymore, or what have you. James can say whatever he wants, but as a salesman, they're not supporting it, and we can't get support. And we're looking at, okay, we are replacing, we're going to replace them, say that full value, it's $130, and we spend $10 more, and you get an endpoint that has a better warranty and the support staff right here in West Michigan.
Okay. So this is a vetted entity through, I trust that you guys did the comparison on that one. So I guess I go back to the fact that, I mean, I've been on both sides where you've had customer service failures and you've been the one that loses the business versus I've been on the other side where you've won business because of a customer service failure. 4 years of issues worries me a lot, and I really wish you did have it written that they provided you something, because they can say anything they want. I mean, I've dealt with many salespeople that say whatever they want at that moment, but then once it actually comes to fruition, the deal is completely different. So I guess I'm leaning more for this entity because the fact that it sounds like they've failed, and then the day of, all of a sudden, they're like, oh yeah, we can do all that stuff.
So I guess my question would be, how do we get a server then a year ago? How do we get a head-end server if they're not contacting us?
Because we begged and pleaded that as soon as the server, I don't know how long that takes by the server ever to get one.
Well, it's a chip issue right now. Everything's built to order.
The one that quoted the $69,000 on?
Yeah.
So they quoted us $69,000 for the server. So we asked them for the spec on it. So we bought the same thing for $1,000.
For the exact same thing? For a head-end unit or a server? Because, I mean, it's a number of things. It's a stack. There's actually a Dell computer in there, and then there's a bunch of magical boxes. I don't know what they do. I assume they establish the gateways between the controllers. Not better.
So with ours, you don't have a server at all on site. It's all hosted on off-site servers that sensor code.
In price comparison to the M400 base units just 2 years ago were selling for $32,000, just in reference from all the municipal quotes I've seen. So yes, prices have gone up. And it's just the way it is. I don't like it. Everybody's going through the exact same issue with chips for their MTUs and endpoints right now.
So you talked about specific packages that you could have? Are any of these that you said in this quote?
Not the sales guy, I'm not sure.
Okay. Any of these packages that you stated, are they in that quote at all or no?
As far as added pressure monitoring and some of the other functionalities of the system, no, I believe we have it set as a basic system to be water meters, get fire alarms. The normal system is itself. What they add on some other.
So that'd be additional. Okay.
We have a discussion too, we can also want to work there and, add that on.
I have 2 questions. That's more of a clarification, and the other one's hopefully a simple question as a rebound on Jim's. One, you mentioned when you answered Kid's question on about 4 years ago, you decided to go with the test, or no, it was a year ago that you went with this test. And at that time, did I hear it that you said you didn't connect back with Mueller to let them know that we were going through this test exercise and that they were possibly going to be vetted out? Okay. So they did not know that they were in sort of this test sourcing bid process necessarily. Okay. Second question is a rebound off of Jim's, which is we've been kind of maintain an even strain for a year. How many months or weeks are we out from like a critical mass situation?
We just are reacting to what we have, and we just take care of issues as they arise to the most important ones for us to determine, and we just keep on building a backlog of areas or places we have to go back to.
Which currently stands at 400? Is this on? Currently stands at 400. So, and when we reset the server and the collectors, then it's good? No, but I'm saying when we have issues and we have to reset those, that takes care of it.
Not necessarily, because some of them are still old reads that you haven't had a read for a month, or you might have a day where it pops up and, okay, I read on August 1, but I haven't read for the last 6 days, you know.
Do we do work orders on those to try to troubleshoot what could be the issue? Could it be, you know, a low battery where if the weather conditions are good, it's not an issue, but sometimes we look at that particular unit and we look at our asset management and we say that's an MTU that was put into service first one, 2011, so it's probably a battery.
Well, I want to be a good steward of township money and not start putting MTUs, new MTUs, if we were going to eventually switch over to these endpoints.
Yeah, and that's what I wondered. I appreciate that. And I also look at it too as far as employee time. Christy having to estimate that takes away from that initial $50,000 for 400. I look at it as a drop in the bucket. We as a township have spent $25,000 on a brochure to get people to vote for something before. So $50,000 in the grand scheme of things is very minimal. But I look at it too as, I mean, we could with our current system, if resetting it is twice a week, we could hire somebody to sit on the phone to reset it twice a week, 400 endpoints, and we can keep rolling. I've got an old Mac computer that was $3,500 back in 2005. I have to zap the pram on it every time I fire it up. But it works. I don't like to do it, but I zap the pram and it's good. And then it won't want to start up the next time until I zap the pram. I could replace it. That's a $6,000 CPU, but I don't because it still works.
Every day or current. So it's something that now we got to estimate the difference. Now, and we would say July 10th. So now we have 30 days. We got to try to estimate how much water they might have. It all takes time.
So these units store data for, I'm not sure what census, 60 days?
45 days.
45 days.
The unit itself.
Yep, MTU. Yep, goes on the cloud. Yep. So MTUs store it for, I want to say the KPs store for at least 60, 90 days. So we're having it where it doesn't read for a month, but then that data's lost?
No, the data's not lost, but, you know, was it dry, was it wet? You know, it all, people cut down because they ran, they don't have, who knows, I don't know. But we're still trying to estimate, and you have to do that. Each one that you can't get a read or has a lag in it. So say you have, let's say there's 1,200 reads this week. Say a third of them are anywhere from 15 days to 30 days since they got the last one. So now you got to sit down and look at each account and then estimate on each one of that number. It all takes time.
It's data encoded. That's what the software does. The software scrapes that data that comes from the MTU.
You still have to estimate it. That's all human estimating. Pulling up each account to make that estimate.
Joel, a year ago, you came to the Utilities Committee and you and Dan made a presentation and you recommended that we go with this company. And Dan's one of the most detailed people I've ever met. We've tried it now for a year. You're happy with it. You strongly recommend we go in that direction. I'm ready to vote.
I have one more question. On the the money, if I were a casual observer this evening, I hear the figure of 5 million and 4.8 million thrown around, but roughly 4.8 million is what's been quoted to us in terms of what's been called a total transition cost. My impression from listening to the conversation would be, well, we're spending all of that because of this projected change. As I read or listened to the portion of the memo that Michael read earlier, it talked about 2.3 million or half of that amount. Am I understanding things correctly to say that the other half of that cost will be spent whether there's a change made or not? So that in other words, what we're looking at with this census change is the 2.3 and not 5 million. Am I accurate in that?
And just like Gary said, it's operational cost. And while we're there, you look at the meter, look at the age, decide, hey, we change up the whole meter. And then that's where it starts creeping up from that 2.3.
So you judge the replacement based on looking at the meter?
Well, there's age on each meter.
And we don't have any of that data here at the office where we can set up a strategy of this is a subdivision of 30-year-old meters?
You know, back in the 90s, they didn't do that.
Did we do that in 2010?
How many endpoints can we get right away? I'm gonna hold you because I got you on the spot right now because endpoints are gonna be the big thing to get. How many endpoints can we get right away? If we were to go with a system.
You could get, right now the published lead time is 52 weeks with a forecast of the fall production ramping up. So what we're given from census is we would hope that if a project of this size were to order all at once, we would have that under 52 weeks. We would hope to have that by June of next year. You're getting 59 endpoints tomorrow.
59.
We already have.
Yeah. We have 15,000 residents.
And we're not going to, everybody.
You're not going to do it all at once anyways. It's going to take some time because we don't have the staff for it. I get that.
Remind me, at last meeting, when this went to tabled, it tabled an actual motion that had been made and seconded. Is that correct? And then we tabled it?
I believe it, yes.
Off the table?
Yep.
So there's actually a motion now pending before us, the original one from the previous meeting. Is that technically how I would say that?
I'm going to let Rod decide because he's got the
And
minutes.
I'm not sure how it was phrased.
Becky's not involved in that.
I would make a motion that we just further investigate. I mean, we're not going to get meters for a year. I mean, this is nothing. If we wait 3 more weeks, it's not going to. A month is not going to make a difference.
The base case is infrastructure is actually perfectly, and like the towers, the actual infrastructure, start reading the couple hundred that you have out there that we've done with the trial, and have that probably up in 2.5 to 3 months, depending on our tower schedule.
Who is doing the subcontracted installs? Well, we don't know.
We don't know.
We don't have that in writing.
No, because we haven't started that process yet.
Oh man, I want to see that because that's a big cost. We were loosely given $100 a house.
Yeah.
But it's not in writing. So they could come back tomorrow and go, oh, they're doing it. We're going to charge them $200 a house. And I did notice too on there. It
doesn't
take
affect the
pictures.
project. It doesn't affect the project, Mike.
Well, as far as time frame, the more we could have a subcontractor do, the quicker this could get done.
Sure.
So it does have an effect on it.
It doesn't affect on whether
So the question is, do they
system, Mike.
GPS it? Are they going to mark GPS locations as well? I know they're going to take pictures. Okay, they will GPS it. It wasn't listed. Just want to make that clear. Make sure it was in there. So yeah, contracted labor. We're talking $750,000 plus our employees' time.
Jim, yes, the motion was tabled.
It was, okay. And who made the motion and who seconded the motion?
The original motion
Yes.
was Becky and you.
Okay. And not sure if it matters that Becky's not here as the one who made the motion that's been taken off the table. So I think we're, yeah. Well, I mean, my read of the room is, I believe it support to take a motion, or rather take a vote, I should say. We could wait for Becky to come back. She's not back until September, and I think that would only increase the number of votes in support, but that's just me, like, and you could read the room. So, I used to sit on sewer for a number of years. It's where the money is spent, as Dan Carlton once said to me when I first was assigned to it years ago. He's like, it's not sexy, but that's where the money is spent. You're going to spend what, Joel, like $4 million or more on that transmission main on 48th, and it's amazing, some of the infrastructure. Michael, you've alluded to
$14 million on 48th.
No, but the one pipe alone, though, like, right, the one component of that whole project was like $4 million. I just remember being astounded at just a component of a larger project being as much as it was. It's amazing. And Mike, you alluded to this too. Aging infrastructure, there's going to be more of that sort of thing. And yes, a lot of money flows through water sewer. It sure does. And as you point out, Gary, our customers who are connected, pay a fair price, and the excess of what we're able to retain is what allows us to make plans for projects like this. And I am comforted somewhat to know that it's been studied as far back as a year ago, and that Joel, you personally, and Dan had looked at this and made this recommendation to have this testing time, and we supported that. I just think I'm ready to vote.
And that's the problem I had, is it was never laid out from the get-go what the total costs were going to be. It's like me going home and telling my wife, yeah, I just got this key to a Ferrari for $200. Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, it's ours. Well, forgot to mention, a year from now we got to pay the balance of $450,000.
Yeah.
I just think to wait a couple of weeks is not that big of a deal. It's just not. It's not going to affect it.
But the couple of weeks doesn't have an expectation behind it of, I don't hear of change of.
Well, for one, we could get in writing from you or what their deal would be.
You say that.
Does it hurt to try?
And even if it were, the assumption you make behind that is that somehow that's going to turn into a multi-million-dollar savings. I think it's going to be a costly.
We don't know.
This is a costly matter, no matter which direction it were to go. I mean, it's not without significant cost, and that's the nature of these components that wear down and changing of technology, and sometimes the lack of support. I, again, for one, am ready to vote.
Yep, I'm just looking at it like if we can save $2 million and put that towards pipes, I'd rather do that.
Okay.
And we can find that out within 2 weeks.
No,
we can find that out within a day.
We've had 4 years of dealing with Mueller and KP unsuccessfully.
Well, they did have a shake. I mean, they were purchased by a company and then sold the whole KP division to Mueller USA, so they have had some issue. And it's probably just, they're tough to get. I mean, if you don't have their phone number, they're hard to get a hold of. They lost their sales rep, which was Michigan, and they never replaced it. Who was their sales rep before? Mo? Oh, just a couple weeks ago? So, I don't know why Mo left. He was told to leave? Oh, okay, sorry. I just think we punt this thing for a couple weeks, and if we can get it in writing, well, and if not, then so be it.
Gary, any perspective, any final perspective from you?
I just need to move forward. I just don't think we've got 400 meters that got to be replaced. Joe's been patient not replacing because he doesn't know what we're going to do. And we're kind of in limbo until we get this figured out. So, I just don't see it. I don't think there's going to be a lot of savings in some of this stuff. Sorry, but
does it hurt to wait to find out? I mean, we'll know.
You know, here's the deal. I buy 1,000 sheets of OSB at a time. It's gone anywhere from $8 to $60 in the last year. It's really difficult to put a target on anything right now. So I almost get to the point where it's like, just pull the trigger and get it done. That's where I'm at. Because I deal with this every day. I'm a buyer and I'm a seller. So
right, and I look at it too, like I finish in the basement right now. I have Milwaukee power tools. So say it was a business, say construction with 10 employees, and I have a Milwaukee Sawzall, multi-tool, drills, table saw, all Milwaukee. I have 150 batteries. One of the batteries dies on me. And my charger, sometimes I have to plug it in a couple times before it makes the connection. Mm-hmm. Do I throw away all 149 other Milwaukee batteries that are working and all my Milwaukee tools and my charger and go buy Bosch?
I did it.
Everything?
I did it. Got rid of all my DeWalt, now Milwaukee. It's what you do. You get to the point where you're going, it's just cost savings. I'm done. I don't have time to deal with plugging in my battery charger in there 3 times with 10 employees.
But
So
you got
just move on.
149 batteries that still work. And that's just the inconvenience. You plug it in once, it takes you 2 seconds.
You say that. But when you got 10 guys and they got to walk across the room and do that, after a while you're like, you start doing the master head.
Well, it only does it twice a week.
I'm just saying.
And that's what I'm saying is we
where
could
I'm at.
hire somebody to sit there and reset the thing and we'd still be functioning. To give us plenty of time.
I don't think it's not functioning. At 4 years.
There's a pretty plain motion, but why don't you read it back if you would, Rod?
Moved by Becky Steele, seconded by Jim Moringa to approve the census radio head infrastructure quote as recommended by the utility.
Okay, that's the motion that's before the board at this time. I call for a vote.
Roll call.
Yeah, absolutely. Roll call vote.
On record.
What, start with me.
This is Monty.
I always do that with the tricky ones, kid.
Start with me.
That's all right. Because I somewhat got an ambiguous answer of critical mass timing, and I don't have a really good idea of what the sourcing bid looked like a year ago, or if all the parties had a equal opportunity to fight for it. I'm a no at this time.
Mr. Valdick?
Yes.
Treasurer?
No.
Supervisor?
Yes.
Clerk is a yes. Mr. Schwam?
Yes.
Okay. All right, and the motion is carried 4-2. Appreciate spirited discussion. That's what we're here for, and appreciate the input that we had this evening as well. In particular, Joel, you have given up your evening. I appreciate you coming. I promised earlier a second public comment period, and so if anyone wish at this time to step forward and address the board on any item that you wish, you're welcome to do so. All we ask is your name and your address, and you have 3 minutes.
All right. My name is Shirley Taylor. My address is 9170 Cottonwood Drive. First, I would like to applaud Michael for his really good research and that discussion. I thought that was really great. Also, what I came here tonight for was I was made aware in talking with Victor, the zoning administrator, that how you guys are posting the agendas and putting residents on notice is via the advanced newspaper and then posted in the office. Is that correct?
There's no more advance.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, right.
Okay, that's what he had told me, and I'd like to request that there be a more, like a better way to communicate that to us residents. Specifically, maybe we could sign up for an email list where we could, if we express interest of knowing that we could have the agenda emailed to us. Me and some of my fellow neighbors had something that was discussed back in March that we would have liked to be made aware of, and I would have thought we would have received a notice or something in the mail. I wasn't really aware of how you guys made people aware of that. So that is what I would like to request, if that is an option. Some of us are busy and work crazy schedules, and it's hard to stop in or go online constantly to see when you're meeting and what you're discussing. And I would like to be able to see what you're discussing so I can come if it's something I'd like to be involved with.
All right.
It's all on our website.
I know it's on your website, but to have to go there with how frequently it's being posted, like it just seems like if you can email me a water bill, why can't I sign up for you to email me an agenda when you're having me a meeting?
You can click on it, and it will actually email it or text you directly. So I know when our agendas come out because it comes directly
to me. So you're saying I can go on there and I can put my email address in and they'll send me every agenda?
Yeah.
Whatever one you sign up
Or
for.
pick and choose.
Not right now, but we will certainly do so afterwards.
It's very easy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
I asked Victor about that and he made it seem like that wasn't an option.
Notify me, you can sign up for text or email,
And you can pick which one you want.
every agenda that comes out.
Okay.
And every
committee.
Okay, and then just so I'm clear, if I don't agree with a decision that you guys make, we have 15 days to appeal that. Is that correct?
You're talking zoning board of appeals or something?
Specifically the mineral mining board. Victor had said there was 15-day period where you can appeal a decision. Is that correct?
Yeah. Why? Yeah, I was gonna say, why don't you come see Rod afterward? And you might have a follow-up question to that too, and he's able to address that. The reason we don't do so now is it's more for us to listen to you
Okay.
as opposed to dialogue, and then if there's some dialogue afterward that would be helpful, then by all means, engage in that. Yep. Okay?
Thank you very much.
I appreciate it. Yeah, thank you for coming. Anyone else? Okay, seeing none. Close the second public comment period. Item 11, discussion and general information for the board. Obviously, I remind each of us of this Thursday evening, 5 o'clock. We've got our goal setting meeting. Anyone else have anything else for the board this evening?
I thought the Jamestown Village was interesting with the library.
It went down, didn't it?
It did.
Yeah.
But that was
And most everything else passed.
yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting they selected that out. Yeah.
Those did.
Yeah.
It was just unique to follow how that all went together.
Yeah, it was. All right, hearing no one else, is there a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Support. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.